Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at the newly released CJRB Agave. As always, I want to thank you all for tuning in today, checking out this episode. If you like what you see, please do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to pump out some good content for you guys to check out. Now let's look at some specs on this knife. We have an overall length of 8.25 inches, a blade length coming in at 3.5 inches, cutting edge at 3 inches, blade width at 1 inch, blade thickness at 0.13 inches, blade material being D2, blade style. They're calling this a Wharncliffe, and I would agree with that. I would say it's maybe somewhat of a modified Wharncliffe, but nonetheless a very nice, unique-looking Wharncliffe design with a flat grind, stonewash finish, handle length coming in at 4.75 inches, handle width at 1 inch, handle thickness at ½ inch, 0.5 inches right there. Handle material being G10, total weight of 3.88 ounces, right hand, left hand, tip-up carry, and a price coming in at a very affordable, very reasonable $37.22. That's refreshing to see. CJRB has done an amazing job lately of keeping their knives to the utmost quality and on a very affordable scale. So thank you, CJRB, for that. And now let's look at some size comparisons. Start off here with the Benchmade Griptilian, and we will pair that with the Kaiser Justice. As you see, they all measure up pretty well there. You are going to notice that the handle on this agave is quite different from the rest, and I think that is for some pretty good. I think that is a good thing. I think it is a nice feeling handle that no real issues with it whatsoever. And now we have the Real Steel Rocat, and we'll pair that with the TRM Atom. Again, pretty similar in size for the most part. A little shorter. TRM's a little shorter there. But some good comparisons. And let's do a couple more. Let's compare it to some other CJRB brethrens. We have the Centros and the Feldspar. And I'll tell you what you have right there is some very beautiful designs with just some great detents and very, very solid action. This has been a really good year for CJRB as well. It's been a great year for knives in general, but CJRB and Kaiser, I think, in my opinion, have been definitely pulled ahead in the budget game. And last but not least, let's pull in the Spyderco Pm2, as well as my Spyderco Smock that I don't showcase enough on this channel. I really love this knife with scales from Sharp Dress Knives. The dark blue matter carbon fiber is gorgeous, and there you have it. So, pretty good comparisons all in all. Should give you guys a pretty good idea of the size of this knife, as it is definitely a medium-sized knife. Not small, not huge, definitely great example of a medium knife. And let's look at the blade. As I said before, I'm really digging this modified Wharncliffe. It has a very nice kind of fine tip, but it comes down to a nice thick stock, which I really do like. It just makes it to be a pretty decent slicer. And we have absolutely zero blade play and awesome centering. Couldn't be a whole lot better than that. That's very spot on centering, and like I said, no blade play whatsoever. Not that I would expect any from CJRB. They're very good at preventing that kind of quality issues on their knives. The choil on this knife fits my hand like my finger here. It's like it was made for my index finger. And I know it wasn't, but man, I'm going to keep telling myself that it was because it just feels fantastic. One thing that I do wish, there's not many improvements I would make to this blade, but one thing that I would definitely like to change or wish they would have done was put some jimping on the flipper tab. You don't necessarily need it, and we'll get to why in a bit here, but flipper tabs regardless should always have jimping in my opinion. It's just, this is really slippery, but jimping would get rid of that. And again, like I said, you don't necessarily have to have it because the action is... But again, it would just feel a lot better. My finger would feel a little more secure if there was some jimping on there. So that's something that I wish was on literally every flipper tab. One area where I don't think it really needs jimping that I usually do gripe about is the spine here. There's no jimping here on the spine, and this is one of the very few times, maybe ever, but very, very few times that I don't mind there not being jimping here. And that is because of the fantastic ergos on this knife. The ergos and appearance of this knife, really, they just, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but do they not scream Elijah Isham? I looked everywhere to see if this was an Elijah Isham design. It was originally one of the reasons I bought it to begin with, is I thought it was. Figured it had to be. Didn't say anywhere in the description. I went to multiple sites. I went to CJRB's website. It didn't list a designer anywhere, so I can only assume this is an in-house design, or maybe a design that Elijah sold to them that doesn't require them to use his maker's marker name. I don't know, but man, it sure does look like one. Let me know, guys. Is this an Isham design that's just not doesn't have his name listed as the designer anywhere? I don't know. I'm a little confused by that, but it sure does scream Elijah Isham, which it would explain the awesome ergos. This knife does have very nice ergos altogether. The reason I don't think that jimping is necessary is because the little downslope here, you hold the knife in hand and it's locked in. I mean, it's really locked in good. It's not going anywhere, and due to all the curvature that favors the grip of my hand, I just don't need jimping there. That's it. I'm not even mad about it one bit. But it just feels really, really good. The clip on the back does give a little bit of a hot spot, I have to say. But again, it feels so good all over your hand. It doesn't necessarily, it's not one of those protruding annoyances to where you just feel it digging into your palm. CJRB's deep carry clips always stick out a little more than the rest. I think a lot of it is because a lot of clips will kind of come down as they ramp up, and this one just stays parallel with the scale, and then it's just a quick little down ramp, and it kind of lips back up to push over hem. So they work just fine. Functionality-wise, they work great, but staying parallel with the scale, you just feel the front end of this clip a little more in your hand than you probably want to. But again, not really the end of the world. The ergos on the knife from basically here up are a dream, and the ergos from here on down are just kind of, you know, they're okay. Nothing special, but they're okay. But the ergos up top, which is, I think, what is really most important, especially when you're considering the type of grip you would have it in, the ergos are really on point. Really do like the ergos a lot. This is my first knife with natural G10. I actually bought a Civivi Odium in natural G10, and I got them on the same day. So, but this is the first one I'm reviewing. I've already reviewed the Odium in black, so reviewing this, and I gotta say, I like the natural G10. I used to hate it. When I first got into knives, I was not a fan of natural G10. But now that I've got into modding and writ dyeing and stuff like that, I like the natural G10 a little more, and I also like how this isn't super translucent. It's going to take pretty much any writ dye color just fine with no issues at all. It just comes down to how much writ dye you put in the water. You don't want to put in too much, then you'll have a little darker colors, but it should dye just fine, and it's not translucent to where you can see the liners. That's kind of a big thing. On my Odium, you can see through the scales to where you can see the liners on the inside. It's not, I would rather it not be like that. Not the end of the world, but I do like how this is thick enough that you can't see all the way through it. So it just kind of looks a little nicer to me. I guess I prefer that. They have a really nice cutback to access the liner lock here too. CJRB, that's another thing they're pretty good at. They do it with pretty much all of their knives, and they do it really well, and they kind of chamfer back or grind back the liner lock too, to where you don't feel any corner. Just very, very smooth operation. Doesn't hurt your thumb at all. It just feels really good, and this one is no difference. Just again, It's right there. You don't even have to dig your thumb in. You just push it down, and this guy shakes shut. And leading into the action, whew, man, this has phenomenal action. This has phenomenal action. I have no complaints with the action whatsoever. And this guy, again, this is just a couple days in my possession, and the action's fantastic. Shakes right shut, flies out. You can do, you can kind of pull back and launch it out. Or I tell you what, when it comes to flipper tabs, my kind of preferred method now is to not even light switch it, but, well, that wasn't very good, but just like push in on the tab, just push in on it and it flies out. So I like that. That kind of, it works really well for me. I do wish, again, though, if it had that jimping on it, it makes pushing it in a lot easier, because sometimes your finger can slip off a little, because this is slippery. It's slippery, but again, you don't need it. You really don't need it whatsoever. Very nice detent, and I think the weight and beef of the blade, it flips out very easily, and this guy is just smooth. This is a very smooth knife. The detent could be maybe a little stronger, but again, it's dialed in very well for this knife. Some companies have, I feel like, a generic detent to where it's like feels the same on every knife. That's not the case with CJRB, as to where the other two knives here, the Feldspar and the Centros, they have considerably stronger detents that just make the knife kind of fly out a little more, but that's to accommodate for thumb studs, so I get that. On flippers, you may or may not want the detent to be extra strong. I would consider this probably a medium detent, but again, a detent that fits this knife very well. And that's important. That's kind of a skill that not a lot of companies have, and CJRB has nailed that pretty well here over the past year, I would say. But overall, very reliable deployment. No lock stick. I noticed some people were complaining about lock stick on other knives. Not this knife, but just it was more of a common topic. No lock stick whatsoever. Very smooth all around. No rough edges, no nothing. So no real complaints on this. Another very solid design from CJRB. And again, guys, let me know, is this an Isham design? That's all I see when I see this knife is Isham. I want to dye this a color too, but I don't know. I'm kind of thinking red, like just a dark racing red. But I think it would highlight the bronze collar really well. But no, all in all, fantastic knife, fantastic action, fantastic price. CJRB, this is probably my fourth favorite offering from CJRB, behind the Centros, Feldspar, and the Rhea. CJRB is putting together a pretty good lineup of knives, guys. So if you haven't checked them out yet, check them out. Check this knife out for $37.22. Why not? It's a fantastic knife. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. That's all I got for you on this one. I will see you on the next one. Until then, take care and have a great day. Bye.